Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got our best bets for college basketball here on December 22nd. Here on Sunday, December 22nd, we've got more college basketball on Monday, tomorrow, obviously the 23rd. The no games on the 24th. We do have some games on Christmas, that Hawaii tournament that's going on. We'll get to that in a few moments, or actually very later on in the video. So we'll have games on the 25th and the 23rd, but no games on the 24th, 26th, and I believe the 27th as well. So we'll get into that, of course, more tomorrow, obviously, because we still have our college basketball best bets on the channel tomorrow. But today, of course, we've got a full Sunday slate, and again, we have our college basketball best bets for the whole slate. Also, folks, make sure to go check out our NFL predictions that were posted earlier this week. Of course, the games happen in a couple hours, so go make sure to check that video out for our NFL weekly predictions. Also, our NBA predictions come out on the channel in about an hour as well, as we get into our first game here of the week, or of the day. And make sure to hit that subscribe button also, folks, if you haven't yet. Our first game today is the Kent State Golden Flashes going to Tuscaloosa, Alabama to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. I know what you're thinking. We're fading Alabama in back-to-back games. Yes, we're doing exactly that. Now, I get it. Completely different circumstance for Alabama this time around in this game against Kent State, rather than their last game where they had to go to Grand Forks, North Dakota, and try to cover against North Dakota. Obviously, again, they didn't cover that basketball game. They found themselves down at points against Trey Eaglestaff and that North Dakota basketball team. Obviously, again, Bama was able to pull out the victory. That was a very tough matchup for the Crimson Tide. Now, again, weird circumstance, Alabama going up to North Dakota to play a game, very odd. They get this game, obviously they don't got to go to Kent, Ohio to play the Golden Flashes. This game, of course, is in Alabama. But guys, Kent State's the best team in the Mid-American Conference. After watching Akron's last couple games and after seeing a bunch of these teams in the MAC, I think by far the best team in the Mid-American this season is Kent State. Now, is that saying much? I don't know, because really, the way I'm looking at things right now, I mean, hell, I know, again, they're last place right now in terms of, record-wise in the MAC, but hell, watching Western Michigan blow their lead to Valpo the other day just kind of makes me think, is the MAC just not good at all this season? Potentially. But I do think the best team out this conference is by far the Golden Flashes. This is a Kent State team that is 8-2 this season, with their only losses being at Auburn and in a tournament game against the UC Irvine Anteaters. And again, we've been pumping up UCI all season long. I know they lost, I believe, yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they lost to Duquesne, which isn't great, but still, I think, again, that Irvine team should win the Big West this season pretty easily. Regardless, again, Kent State's only losses this year are UCI in a defensive game where they were only able to score 39 points. I know that's not great, but still, that loss, and then a loss again to Auburn, who I would say is probably the best team in the country right now by far after their victory yesterday against the Purdue Boilermakers. For Alabama, 9-2, obviously, the two losses being to Purdue and to Oregon. 3 straight wins, though, a win over North Carolina, who pulled off a huge victory yesterday at Madison Square Garden. We got them at plus money against UCLA yesterday. UNC came back down by 8 at halftime, down by 10 at halftime, and ended up winning the game outright. Big W for the Tar Heels, finally again coming through in a big spot. Bama, though, coming off a 3-game winning streak, beating UNC, beating Creighton, and then of course going to Grand Forks to beat North Dakota. On paper, obviously, again, Alabama's by far the better team, and there's no debating if Alabama is a better team than the Kent State Golden Flashes, right? A team that is led by Mark Sears, led by Grant Nelson. You've got a bunch of guys in this Alabama team that can effectively, again, make an impact in the basketball game, but obviously, again, it's going to be a lot of Sears and Nelson. They are by far the two best guys on this Bama team. But for the Golden Flashes, right, a team that I do like out the Mid-American Conference, again, a team that I would project to probably be a 14 seed, I think, in the NCAA tournament this season, but a team that is led by Von Cameron Davis, who's averaging 15 points per game, Morgan Safford, who's averaging 10.5, Jalen Sullinger, who's averaging 10 points as well. Kent State, sure, they aren't the highest scoring team, but they do play defensive basketball, and they can shut you down, right? You look at their last 3 victories: a 67-60 victory over the Kennesaw State Owls, a 76-57 victory over Portland, an 82-57 victory over Mercyhurst, right? Again, their wins aren't the most impressive, like just strength of schedule wise. The Raging Cajuns of Louisiana, Niagara, Cleveland State, Townsend, Kennesaw, Portland, Mercyhurst. I get it, but Kent State does play competitive basketball. And again, even in their loss against Auburn this season, they only lost the game by 23 points. It was a game that Von Cameron Davis put up 19. Again, we are only asking them to cover 20 here. I get it, again. They didn't cover this line against Auburn, but Auburn, I would say, by far is the best team in the country. If you want to make that case, oh, well, Kent State lost by 23 to Auburn. Well, you know who Auburn beat and Alabama didn't? Purdue, right? I get it. Again, Alabama had to go to West Lafayette. different circumstance, but still, Alabama did lose to, Purdue by what? Double digits, 9 points, and Auburn just beat Purdue. So I don't think we can really compare both, Bama and Auburn's games against Kent State. I think the Golden Flashes are able to stick within 20.5. Again, this is not me picking this based on, Bama didn't look that great against UND. We knew that was going to be a dogfight against North Dakota. Again, that was the biggest game North Dakota has, that was the biggest game North Dakota has all season. And we did a whole spiel in that video about the best and greatest moments to ever happen to the city of Grand Forks, North Dakota. And we came to the conclusion that Alabama versus UND is by far the biggest thing to happen in that city's history. Now, I'm not saying, again, this is not the biggest thing Kent State's ever had to do. Obviously, again, they're going on the road to Tuscaloosa. But I do think they're able to stay competitive in this basketball game, only losing to Auburn by 23 points this season. This is a Kent State team that plays really good defense. It's going to be, if Kent State is able to cover this basketball game, it's going to look nothing like Alabama's game at Grand Forks, right? High scoring affair. Eagle staff puts up 40 plus, right? And Alabama, again, scores 97 points for a victory. It's not going to be like that. This is going to be, if Kent State is able to cover, we're looking at likely a 70-55 final score that Kent State, again, can just cover. I think they can keep this within the 15-point range. I think that's where I project this one to land. Give me Kent State to cover the 20.5 points, but obviously, again, we are anticipating the Crimson Tide to win this game outright. Let's move on to our second best bet of the video, and we move on to Missouri and Illinois. Maybe the biggest game of the day. We've got another one again coming up in I think our next pick, but this is a pretty big game, right? The SEC zone, Missouri taking on Illinois in the Enterprise Center in St. Louis, Missouri, obviously the home of the St. Louis Blues. For the Fighting Illini, a 7-3 team this season, but the losses again, Alabama at Northwestern, and then most recently a very close game where they lost on a buzzer beater to the Tennessee Volunteers, who are right now, the number one team in the country, one of very few undefeated teams left. Again, is Auburn better than Tennessee? Likely, but Tennessee is still yet to have a loss in their record. Illinois got some decent wins this season, right? They beat Oakland, a team that's going to be in that Hawaii tournament coming up. That it does start today. We're only going to have one pick for that Hawaii tournament in today's video, but tomorrow and on Christmas, it's all going to be that tournament. So we'll get into that again in a little bit here, but Illinois' big wins this season, Oakland, I guess, but Arkansas, Wisconsin are the two biggest ones. The Fighting Illini beating the Badgers by 26 points in their last victory, but obviously, again, their last game was that loss against the Volunteers. For Missouri, a 10-1 basketball team that started the season off with a loss on the road at Memphis, but since then, Mizzou has won 10 straight games in this gauntlet known as the Southeastern Conference, and you can look at strength of schedule and say, okay, Mizzou has not played the best teams, but recently, a 5-point victory against Cal where they put up 98 points, a victory over Kansas, a victory over Jacksonville State and Long Island. Okay, those aren't the best victories, but I mean, again, Missouri has found ways to win basketball games. And again, the most important victories that they have on their slates or on their records so far, of course, are the wins over, Cal and Kansas so far. Missouri has shown capability of winning. And again, they're playing in this, absolute gauntlet that is the SEC, right? The SEC right now, the worst team record-wise in the Southeastern Conference is the 8-3 South Carolina Gamecocks. And then you look at basically every other team has one loss except for the three undefeated squads, Florida, Oklahoma, and Tennessee, that are all 12-0 and 11-0 respectfully. I mean, again, the SEC is dominant this season, and if I've learned anything about this season so far, do not pick against the Southeastern Conference, and we're going to continue to do that here tonight. We're going to take Mizzou. We get Missouri as underdogs here. Again, this game is being played in the Enterprise Center in St. Louis, Missouri. I'll be honest with you, I don't entirely know where the University of Missouri is, so I guess it's that time of the video, guys. We're going to look some stuff up. Oh, okay, that's great. Don't know why that's not popping up. And here we go. Let's see it. Where is the University of Missouri? And we're going to look at it on a map because we just do geography lessons here. It's in Columbia. All right, great. So we're going to compare Columbia to Urbana-Champaign to St. Louis. So this is the state of Missouri. The only city I've been to in the state of Missouri is St. Louis right here. Okay, Columbia is right here. I would approximate a 90-minute drive. Urbana-Champaign is, oh God, I've never been to Urbana. I think it's right here, right? It's by Peoria, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. All right, this is like literally the definition of a neutral site game. They're literally like right. I actually know. I think Missouri's closer, but Basically, both these teams are just right there. Okay, that's all we need to see. So again, there might be somewhat of a home court advantage for Mizzou, but I highly doubt it. Again, I think both of the fan bases will come through to this game, and it's really not that far of a trip for either team. So I don't think that's too big of a factor in this game, again, playing this one in St. Louis. But I do like Missouri. I do think they are the better basketball team. This is a 10-1 squad this season. They've got guys who are effectively able to score on this Mizzou team. Mark Mitchell, their leading scorer, with 13.5. They have Caleb Grill as well, who averages 13.5 points per game for this Missouri team. Only played 7 games so far this season because he hasn't played since the Lindenwood game. I'm pretty sure he's not playing this game here against Illinois, but still, again, Mark Mitchell's averaging 13.5, Tamar Bates averaging 12, Anthony Robinson II averaging 11.5 points as well. And for the Fighting Illini, a good basketball team, right? They got Jaconius, I believe I'm pronouncing his name right, who is he's a shooter, he's a baller. He's averaging 16 points per game this season. He can get it done from beyond the arc. You got Ivisic as well, who is their center. They've got some guys who are pretty solid again on this Illinois team. But if they're able to shut down Kasparis Jaconius, I think they should be okay. Again, Jaconius has really caught fire for this Illinois team. You look at the victories again over Arkansas, the loss at Northwestern, but still, again, he was able to put 20 points in that game. The win over Wisconsin, he puts up 24. The loss against Tennessee, 22 points for Jaconius as well. This is by far their best guy. If Missouri's able to find a way to somewhat limit his production, I do think the Tigers are going to be all right, because I think, again, at least what we've been seeing out the Fighting Illini recently, if you're able to shut down, and again, these teams haven't been able to do that, but if you're able to shut down Jaconius, I really don't think the rest of the team's all that great. I think they are kind of just led by him and Ivisic as well, but Ivisic's a really good, guy on the glass, will put stuff back up, but really this team is built around Jaconius. So if, again, Missouri's able to shut him down, I think they should be fine. I'm liking the plus money in this game here for the Tigers, so give me plus 2.5 for Missouri, as well as plus 130. I think the Tigers win this game in St. Louis over the Illinois Fighting Illini. Let's move on to our next one. We go to New Jersey for Seton Hall and Georgetown. A game here in the Big East. I don't really know how good the Big East is. This one's at the Prudential Center here in Newark, New Jersey. The Big East is really confusing to me. I don't think it's all that great. The games I've watched this season at the Big East, I don't think the conference is all that good this year, but I've said it before, the exceptions I'll make in the Big East for the teams that I don't think they're all that bad: Marquette, St. John's, UConn, Creighton, Georgetown. Those are the teams, all right, I can trust these teams to win non-conferences here in the Big East. Now, again, conference game here between Seton Hall and Georgetown, but if I've seen anything out of Seton Hall this season, is that they're absolutely horrible. They just are. I think this is an absolute bargain of a line that we're getting. Guys, Seton Hall has lost 4 of 5. Monmouth beat them 63-51. They beat the New Jersey Institute of Technology 67-56. Then losses to Oklahoma State, Rutgers, Villanova in their first game in the Big East this season. Georgetown should kill this team. They just should. Again, this game should not be competitive at all. I don't care, again, it's going to be at Seton Hall. Doesn't really affect this game much. Jaden Epps is a very good player for this Georgetown team. He's by far, when you think of Georgetown, you're going to think of Epps this season. He's been really good for them, obviously. Thomas Sorber is a pretty good big for them as well, averaging 15 and 8. Malik Mack is their point guard, right, averaging 12.5 and 4. And you got Micah Peavy as well, who can get it done as well for this Georgetown team. One of the better defenders. I really like Georgetown in this spot. Guys, Seton Hall struggles to score. The games I've watched at Seton Hall, they're absolutely horrible. They went on their little run earlier this season where they were able to beat VCU. They lost to Vandy, but then they beat FAU, right? Seton Hall was winning some games, but man, there is not a consistent scorer on this team. Isaiah Coleman is probably the closest you get to that, but even Coleman, again, who has been good recently, past him, there is no one else in the Seton Hall team that scores. They just have such bad offensive possessions. When you watch Seton Hall play, it's just I don't know, they take the worst shots, they really can't set up their shots at all, and it's tough watching Seton Hall Pirates basketball. That's why I was kind of astonished when I saw this line. I get it, Georgetown isn't the best team, but Georgetown hasn't been playing that badly this season. This is a 9-2 team, and sure, they've lost the only big games they've played all season. Actually, no, that's a lie. They just beat Creighton. They blew Creighton out 81-57 in their last game. I get it again, the game was in D.C., it was in Georgetown, but still, right, lost at Morgantown to West Virginia. They lost against Notre Dame earlier in the year, but, right, they bounced back. They went to Syracuse, New York, and beat the Orange. They beat Creighton in their last game, and now they go to Seton Hall. I really don't think this line should be that close. Again, we're getting 2.5 here for the Hoyas. I like Georgetown all day long, and I don't really think this game's all that competitive because, again, Georgetown can score. And like we saw in the Creighton game, Georgetown can play some pretty solid defense as well. So how the hell is Seton Hall going to get anything done in this game? Right? Because Georgetown, I think, plays Seton Hall's style better than Seton Hall does. And what is Seton Hall's style? Win low-scoring games and just hope the other team can't score and play really good defense. Because sure, that's what Seton Hall does, and that's, again, how they've been able to stay competitive in some of these games. That's how they were able to come back in the VCU game, because they were able to shut VCU down on offense, and they were again, just, finding ways to hit shots. But a lot of things just need to go Seton Hall's way to win basketball games against other teams in the Big East and other decent teams in non-conference play as well, which is kind of harsh to say that. Again, Seton Hall just needs so many different variables to go their way. It's like that same point I make when, we're taking the Celtics to cover 15.5 because we just need everything to go the right way for the Celtics, but, most of the time it does. Well, for Seton Hall, they need so many things to go their way just to win a basketball game against another good team. I really don't care. The game, again, is at home for them. I think they're in for it this year. I really don't. I think Seton Hall's going to struggle throughout this season. Again, I don't. They're probably going to win January 8th in the Big East against DePaul because DePaul is absolutely garbage. They just are. DePaul still has not won they've lost 30-something in a row Big East basketball games now, and they're going to continue to do that because they absolutely suck. But yeah, I think Georgetown's the much better team here. I think Georgetown's able to score. Again, Seton Hall has one effective scorer on their team, and it's Isaiah Coleman. Past Isaiah Coleman, there's really nothing else I like on this team. Jenkins isn't horrible, but they play great defense. But again, like some of these Big East teams I've watched this season, DePaul, Providence, they really struggle to score. I don't know, Butler too. These teams go on long droughts where they're just not able to put up shots and hit shots. And I do think Georgetown plays that style of game better than the Seton Hall Pirates. So give me the Hoyas to go to the Prudential Center to Newark, New Jersey and beat Seton Hall. Give me Georgetown to stay undefeated in Big East play. Let's move on to our next game. Here we go to Moraga, to the Bay Area. We have got the Gales of St. Mary's taking on the Utah State Aggies. Give me the underdogs in this game. Give me Utah State. Guys, this is the perfect example of a buy low spot. This is exactly it right here. We're buying Utah State at the lowest point possible. Yes, they are coming off a horrible loss to UCSD in their last game. I know, they lost to UC San Diego. Yikes. But prior to that, this was an undefeated Utah State team, and regardless of the loss to UCSD, where their shots just weren't falling, they lost the game by 2 points, this is still a high-scoring Utah State Aggies team, and a team that I think matches up really well at St. Mary's. St. Mary's struggles, guys. They just do. They struggle with these teams like Utah State that can score, and I just think it's a rough night for the Gales. Guys, St. Mary's, and I'll say this, I've been saying this all year long, Bay Area basketball for these college teams just aren't that good. I said it yesterday against Stanford was going to get blown out by Oregon. What happened in San Jose? Cal lost to San Diego State. San Francisco sucks. I don't care. They're 10-3. They just suck. They lost to Bradley a couple days ago. San Jose State, don't get me started. Santa Clara is shaky, but they're not that great this season. How they lost to the Bison of North Dakota State earlier this year. And it leaves probably the best team right now in the Bay Area. We're talking about the Gales that play in Moraga. Obviously, we're talking about St. Mary's. That's the best team in the Bay Area, and I do think Utah State can go on the road and beat them here. St. Mary's guys struggle to beat Merrimack. I saw that one coming, but they've struggled to win these games at home this season. Merrimack, UTSA, they really struggled with. They were by 20 points in the UTSA game, and the Roadrunners came back and made it a close game and sent that game to overtime, where St. Mary's just had some right things go their way at the end of the game, but UTSA was that close from winning that game outright against the Gales. Boise came into town, beat them. Arizona State, I think that was a tournament game, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think Arizona State came here, right? Or Boise was neutral site too, but regardless, this team, again, they've only basically played bye games at home this season. The Akron win is by far their best victory, but I don't think Akron's as good as I thought they were earlier in the year. So really, they're only winning bye games at home, and these bye games that they're winning have not been impressive at all. Even their first game of the year, they beat Townsend by 7 points. Beat Merrimack by 5. They take UTSA into overtime. I don't think the Gales are that great, man. Marcelonis is their best guy, and they got Merkoskas as well, if I'm not mistaken. Both those guys are going to give you 15 points a game, but Utah State, I think, is the better team. This team scores, they score a lot. Ian Martinez, 17.5 points per game. Mason Falsev, 17 points per game. I mean, both those guys are really good scorers for the Aggies, and they just got an all-around really good team and a high-scoring team. Again, just matchup-wise alone, I really think that St. Mary's does not match up well with Utah State. This is a team that's going to score, and I get it again. They're coming off a loss to UC San Diego, but this is what a buy low spot is. Utah State had a horrible game. People are looking at that. Oh, they lost to Utah State a week ago. Oh, what's going to happen now when they have to go on the road? No, we're going to stay the course here with Utah State. I don't even think I've picked Utah State all year long, but this is a team that's got good victories. Montana is shaky, but they beat Montana. They put up 103 points against Charlotte, and trust me, we'll get to Charlotte in just a few moments here. They beat St. Bonnie's, good win. North Texas, USF is very shaky sometimes, but I don't mind Utah State. They have guys who score. Martinez puts up 30 points in some games. Falsev put up 27 in the victory over USF. They just had a really bad game against UC San Diego. Their shots just weren't falling. They are going to fall in this game here against St. Mary's, and they kind of have to for Utah State because they turn this around in 6 days and have to go to San Diego to play SDSU. That's a rough game for their second Mountain West game of the season. I think Utah State gets it done, though, before officially heading into Mountain West play, giving the Aggies to go on the road to Moraga, California, and take down the St. Mary's Gales. We're going to take them at plus 5.5. We're also going to take them at plus 175 as well as we go on to the final best bet of the video, and this is the late night game at 8:30 Pacific time. We go to Honolulu, Hawaii. We go to the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors taking on the Charlotte 49ers. Now, this is part of the Hawaiian Airlines Diamond Head Classic. There are 8 teams in this tournament. I'll be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure how this tournament works because I believe you play 2. Is this just a straight bracket? Well, no, it's probably just straight. Yeah, it's a straight bracket. Yeah, it's a straight bracket. I'm pretty sure. So basically, okay, there's games all day long, but anyways, Nebraska's taking on Murray State at 6. Loyola Chicago's playing Oakland at 2, and I assume the other game is, who is it? There's another game. Charleston is playing Murray State? Murray State. No, Murray State's playing Nebraska. I'm tripping. Charleston has to be playing Oregon State then, earlier today. Yeah. So all these games are going down today, obviously, and then it's just an 8-man bracket. It's an 8-team bracket. And again, Wednesday, they'll have a first place game, a third place game, a fifth place game, and a seventh place game. So we're going to go over all those games on Christmas because those are the only games that are taking place on Christmas. Regardless, we're going to pick one of these games here, and the game that I feel like has the most value, it is Charlotte and Hawaii. Now, Hawaii won this little invitational a couple seasons ago. I think it was 2022 was the last time the Rainbow Warriors won it. First off, Charlotte's not that good. They're just not. We haven't talked about the 49ers yet this season, but this just isn't that great of a basketball team. Guys, they beat West Georgia by 5 points in their last game. They beat Georgia State on the road, good victory, but they lost to Davidson on the road, lost to East Tennessee State by 20 points at home. LIU beat them, Long Island University, who sometimes is great for us and sometimes is just losing to Lee. But this is a Charlotte team that's going to be led by Nick Graves and Robert Braswell IV. Graves with 17 points per game, Braswell with 14. But everything considered, I like Hawaii in this basketball game, and I do like them to cover the 5.5 points. Why? Charlotte's got to come all the way to Hawaii to play this game. This is not their second game. It's not their third game. Instantly, you got to come over here and play Hawaii. Now, Charlotte doesn't get, again, this luxury of playing another team from the continental United States like Charleston, Loyola Chicago, Oregon State, Oakland, Nebraska, and Murray State. No, they immediately are thrown in to play the team that has been on this Hawaii time all year long, obviously, and they live here. This is the only game where there's true home court advantage, and it is, again, for the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Now, it's in Honolulu, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, University of Hawaii is in Honolulu, so this is a straight home game for the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors here. That's why I like them to win this basketball game, and I do like them to cover the 5.5 points as well. Hawaii is a much different team at home than what they are on the road. It's that simple. They've gone on the road twice this season. They've lost both those games, to Grand Canyon and to Long Beach State. And trust me, the Beach are horrible. Devin Askew and the guys, they're bad. But it's just a different game for Hawaii going on the road. Because again, they have to cross the Pacific Ocean now. But now, for this tournament, everyone's got to cross the Pacific to play them. Right? Coming off a 9-point victory over Texas A&M Corpus Christi. They did lose at home early this season to North Carolina, but it's UNC. We don't care. At home, though, other than the UNC game, they have not lost. San Jose State, Pacific, Weber State, Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, they have won all these basketball games. And on top of that, Charlotte, I just don't think is all that good. This is a 6-4 Charlotte team that, again, their best win all season, I would say, is Georgia State on the road, but losses to Utah State, Long Island University, East Tennessee State. The 20-point loss at home really sticks out. And then the Davidson loss as well. I do think Hawaii is the better basketball team. And on top of that, again, we get the Rainbow Warriors at home in this game. It's a late night spot for Hawaii, which, how does this affect Charlotte? This affects them big time because this game is at 8:30. No, it's 8:30 my time, which would be, 5:30 Hawaii time? But really, that's 11:30 Charlotte time. That's brutal, man. I don't know how long Charlotte's been in Hawaii, but they got to deal with the time change and everything. That's just a tough circumstance for the 49ers and everything involved. On top of this being just a straight home game for Hawaii and Hawaii being the better team, there's too many variables that, that go in the side of the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors for us not to pick them in this basketball game. So give me the Rainbow Warriors to take care of business in Honolulu. I think they beat the Charlotte 49ers, and I think they cover the 5.5 points as well. So folks, thank y'all for watching our 5 best bets for college basketball here on December 22nd. If you have not yet though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks, and make sure to join us again for our NBA predictions dropping 1 hour from now. So folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.